Adolf Hitler. In this video, I will walk you step by step through the transformation of Adolf Hitler, one of the most controversial and dark figures of the 20th century, from a young man with artistic dreams to a totalitarian dictator. This is not merely the story of one leader's rise to power, but also a window into how one of the most tragic eras in human history took shape. We aim to explore Hitler not just as a war leader, but as an individual through his dreams, disappointments, anger, and opportunities. Because a dictator is born not solely through political decisions, but also through personal traumas, societal crises, and historical circumstances. Childhood and dreams of art. Adolf Hitler was born on April 20, 1889, in the town of Braunau am Inn, then part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. His father, Alois Hitler, was an authoritarian and stern customs officer, while his mother, Clara, was a loving and gentle woman. His childhood was shaped by these two contrasting influences. From an early age, he showed a deep interest in art, particularly painting. He dreamed of becoming an architect. After moving to Vienna, he applied to the Vienna Academy of Fine Arts in 1907 and again in 1908. Both applications were rejected. The Academy deemed his technical drawing skills inadequate. This rejection left a deep psychological scar. The same year, his mother died of cancer, plunging him further into emotional collapse. Living in poverty on the streets of Vienna, Hitler became increasingly withdrawn and alienated from society. During this time, he encountered anti-Semitic ideas for the first time. He read anti-Semitic newspapers and was influenced by anti-Jewish rhetoric. The frustration of being unable to become an artist slowly evolved into a worldview. Others were always to blame. World War I and military years. In 1913, he moved to Germany. When World War I broke out in 1914, he enthusiastically volunteered for the German army. He served on the Western Front and was awarded the Iron Cross for bravery. The war gave his life a sense of purpose. Discipline, authority, and a sense of belonging were all fulfilled through military life. However, Germany's defeat in 1918, the harsh terms of the Treaty of Versailles, and the collapse of the German Empire inflamed Hitler's nationalist anger. He believed the war had not been lost on the battlefield but had been betrayed by politicians and internal enemies. Jews, communists, and gloomy Democrats topped this list of scapegoats. First steps into politics and the birth of the Nazi Party. After the war, Hitler settled in Munich. In 1919, he came into contact with a small group called the German Workers' Party, DAP. Its anti-Semitic, nationalist, and anti-communist rhetoric resonated with Hitler. He quickly became the party's most effective orator. In 1920, the party was renamed the National Socialist German Workers' Party, NSDAP, soon to be known simply as the Nazi Party. Under Hitler's charismatic leadership, the movement grew rapidly. In 1923, Hitler and his supporters staged a failed beer hall putsch in Munich. He was arrested, but this period in prison turned into an opportunity. During approximately 9 months in Landsberg prison, he wrote Mein Kampf, My Struggle, the manifesto of his ideology and plans: anti-Semitism, the Lebensraum living space theory, the rejection of democracy, and the vision of a powerful German empire. The Road to Power, released in 1924, Hitler adopted a more strategic approach to politics. He decided to seek power through elections rather than by force. Economic crises, hyperinflation, and widespread unemployment weakened the Weimar Republic, pushing the public toward radical alternatives. After the 1929 global economic crash, the German people increasingly turned to extreme parties for solutions. Hitler masterfully used rhetoric. He promised to abolish the humiliating terms of the Treaty of Versailles, to restore Germany's former glory, and to eliminate the communist threat. In the 1932 presidential elections, Hitler did not win, but he gained massive public support. Finally, on January 30, 1933, President Paul von Hindenburg appointed Hitler as Chancellor of Germany, thus officially opening the path to dictatorship. Establishing the dictatorship, upon becoming Chancellor, Hitler quickly exploited the system's weaknesses to consolidate power. On February 27, 1933, the Reichstag fire gave him the pretext he needed. Blaming the communists for the fire, he suspended civil liberties. In March 1933, the Enabling Act, Ermächtigungsgesetz, granted Hitler the authority to enact laws without parliamentary approval. Democratic governance had effectively ended. Germany rapidly became a one-party state. All opposition parties were banned, trade unions were dismantled, the press was silenced. In 1934, after Hindenburg's death, Hitler declared himself both president and chancellor, now bearing the title of Führer leader, with absolute power. The Nazi salute and party symbol. With Hitler's rise, not only the structure of the state, but also the daily behaviors, symbols, and rituals of society underwent drastic change. The Nazis presented themselves not merely as a political movement, but as a belief system. Two powerful elements reinforced this ideology: the Nazi salute and the party symbol. The Nazi salute, Hitler salute. The Nazi salute was performed by raising the right arm straight forward. It was accompanied by phrases such as Heil Hitler or Sieg Heil, Hail Victory. This salute signified loyalty to the Nazi ideology. Every segment of society, students, civil servants, soldiers, and civilians, was required to use it. Refusing to do so could result in being labeled suspicious or even traitorous. Although its origins were often traced to ancient Rome, the Nazis repurposed the gesture into a symbol of obedience and fear. Students saluted Hitler every morning at school. Workers used it with their superiors. Politicians used it even in parliament. Over time, this gesture became not just a sign of respect, but a tool for enforcing compliance. The Nazi Party symbol, the swastika. The official symbol of the Nazi Party consisted of a black swastika on a white circle set against a red background. Hitler himself designed it and gave it the following meanings. Red, the social aspect of the Nazi movement. White, nationalistic ideals. Black swastika, the supposed superiority of the Aryan race. Propaganda, youth, and obedience. Hitler solidified his rule not just through force, but also through ideological tools. Under the direction of propaganda minister Joseph Goebbels, an enormous propaganda machine was established. The population was molded through radio, cinema, posters, and education. Children and young people were systematically indoctrinated through the Hitler Youth. Hitlerjugend families, neighbors, and teachers were encouraged to inform on one another. The Nazi regime thus initiated not only physical domination but also psychological occupation. The path to war and genocide. 1939, Germany invaded Poland, officially launching World War II. After initial military success, Nazi forces quickly occupied much of Europe. However, this was not merely a military campaign, it was also an ideological campaign of annihilation. The Holocaust, a systematic genocide of the Jewish people, was carried out during this time. Over 6 million Jews were murdered in gas chambers or by firing squads in concentration camps. Roma people, disabled individuals, homosexuals, and political dissidents met similar fates. In 1941, Hitler's attack on the Soviet Union and the entry of the United States into the war turned the tide against him. Collapse and death. In 1944, a failed assassination attempt was made against Hitler. The regime responded by becoming even more repressive. Allied forces advanced from the west, and the Soviets from the east. Berlin came under siege. On April 30th, 1945, shortly before Soviet troops entered the city, Adolf Hitler committed suicide in his underground bunker alongside his wife Eva Braun. Their bodies were burned with gasoline. Thus ended one of the darkest chapters in human history. Dear friends, the story of Adolf Hitler's transformation from an aspiring painter to a dictator who plunged the world into chaos is not just about one individual, it is also about how societies in despair can so easily be radicalized. Hitler remains a dark figure in history. To understand him is not to excuse, but to prevent. It is our duty as humanity to remember, so that such tragedies never happen again. Thank you.